It's June 28, 2022. My name is Jimmy Van, and it's time to know your news tonight. My guest is a champion for mental health awareness. The Nigerian national soccer team gets her dancing, and she's got a new book out called Ongoing Success and Wellbeing, which is going to be available on Amazon on June 29th. Her name is Aanchal Vash. Aanchal, how are you?
Hello, James. I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's always a pleasure to see you. And full disclosure for people, I've known Aanchal for a long time now, and I've always affectionately called her Chili. And so during this, if I say Chili, that's why I'm saying Chili. It's because we've always referred to her as Chili, Aanchal Chili. And so you might hear that from time to time. But here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you about 10 of the top news stories of the week that are stupid, funny, and weird. I'm going to get your reactions, and I'm going to ask you questions along the way. And for any of our viewers and listeners, if you have a question or statement that you would like to have read on the air of any edition of a future podcast on the Know Your News Network, go to kynchat.com, leave a contribution of any size, and your question or statement will be read on a future edition of a podcast. All right, Chili, are you ready to go?
I am so excited. And by the way, it's such a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to all the news that I'm going to learn about today.
Oh, you're going to learn. You're going to learn. Let's start with story number 10. Okay. So there's a person on Reddit using the name Zagroose, and they ordered McDonald's in Canada using DoorDash, the DoorDash food delivery service. Okay. When their order arrived, they discovered that there was something unusual in the bag. Aanchal, what did they find in the bag?
Not their food.
That's part of it, but they also found a marriage proposal on a handwritten note. Joel, do you got the picture? There it is right there. Will you marry me, Kim?
God.
So apparently some guy wanted to surprise his girlfriend named Kim. The order got mixed up. It went to somebody else. DoorDash claimed that it was McDonald's fault because they don't make the orders and the bags are taped shut when they pick them up. Imagine being this guy, right? So you're this guy and you make this order and you're sitting there in anticipation and Kim's going through the bag and you're waiting for her to find the note and absolutely nothing happens whatsoever. And why would you want to do a proposal in that way, right?
I know, exactly my thought. What a great way to propose.
Do you think maybe their first date was like eating McDonald's from DoorDash?
That's a bit sad. It's possible.
I don't know. So I have to ask you, do you have any memorable stories either about a food delivery or maybe about a proposal?
Yes, I actually do. So recently I visited, my parents visited me from Nigeria, and we ended up going to LA. We were on touring around, checking out the city. So we went on top of this beautiful mountain where you can see the Hollywood sign. And there was a cafe there. So we decided to grab, a coffee, and we sat outside so we can see the beautiful view of the city. And this person was working at the cashier, came up to me with a note and he gives it to me. That guy has so much guts, because clearly these are my parents with me, and he gives me this note that says, "Will you marry me?" with his phone number there.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
It was the waiter that did this?
Yeah, like the cashier that was working there.
On behalf of himself?
Yes. I don't know if we show it to my parents. I just put it in my pocket. I'm not going to call you. Anyways, I thought that was so interesting.
Wow. I didn't expect to hear something that's fascinating. So the cashier of the place decides, okay, the way that I'm going to pick up this girl that I've never met is I'm going to ask her to marry me.
Yes.
Wow. Unbelievable. So did you call the guy? You didn't call the guy?
No, I threw the paper away. But it was interesting because, usually women get numbers written out, but no one ever writes will you marry me? Just based on a 30-second conversation.
Right. Wow. It's what were you saying? Hey, can I get, I don't know, milk in my coffee? What was it what made this guy decide, oh, this is the girl for me?
I don't know. You're making small chat when you're paying for stuff. You ask how long have you been working here? That little small talk.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I did not expect when I said, hey, do you have any stories of any weird marriage proposals? I didn't expect that. Fascinating. All right, let's go on to story number 9, and we're going to stick with the wedding theme for this one. So story
Okay.
number 9, there's a woman who goes by the name Vampy Rick on TikTok, and she had an outdoor wedding at a residence, and it was an intimate setting, and it looked like there was water in the background. So it was like, a nice little place. They ran into a problem though during the wedding. Do you have any idea what it was?
The bride didn't show up?
That's a good guess. The neighbor started trimming her lawn right as the bride walked down the aisle. We have a video from TikTok. The video has audio. Go ahead, Joel. Play a clip of the video.
Was that in
Your loving and faithful husband, in plenty and in want.
Isn't that something?
was that intentionally done?
I think it must have been, because she was looking at him, as it was happening. So they think she did it on purpose to disrupt the wedding. She continued using that weed whacker throughout the entire ceremony. They asked her to stop, but she ignored them. Guests couldn't even hear the marriage vows, as you saw there in that clip, because of that. The couple feels like their wedding was ruined because of this woman. Now, I got to ask you, and you're a good person to ask this. I think that we have all at some point dealt with a miserable person in some walk of life or another. However, if I can think of one person who maybe has not dealt with a miserable person, it's Aanchal Vash, because you are like the most positive human being that I know. And so
Thank you.
I'm curious, have you dealt with a miserable person? Because it's hard for me to fathom.
Yes. So I work, I run a mental health non-for-profit called Reach Out Together Foundation. I don't want to use the word miserable, but I would like to think that they were having a bad day or a bad month or a bad year.
A decade.
You know what I mean? And this person was, I guess, one of the volunteers working with us for about 1.5 years. And over the last few months, I just started noticing that, this person's not fully there, like not really engaged. And so one day, I don't know what happened. She just got so aggressive. This is a person that I used to sponsor her internet because she was living in an African country. Don't want to mention it, but I was sponsoring her internet, during COVID. She was going through a rough time. So I was trying to take care of her as much as I could for her volunteer time at ROT. So for her to lash out at me out of thin air, and in that moment too, as it was happening, I'm just giving her the space to see what she needs to say. And in the end, I just wished her really well. And that was the end of it. Since then, we've never talked. She's reached out to me several times, but I continue to wish you well.
Wow. It's hard for me to fathom somebody like being miserable with you. I got to tell you a story. You know how in Toronto, how the houses are very close together?
Yeah.
Right. And in most cities like New York, the houses are really close together. I once bought an investment property in Toronto, a house, and the neighbor next door, the houses are so close together that all you have on one side is like a fence and really not a whole lot of space on either side. I'm getting this house fixed up. And when the contractor is out there trying to work on the siding, she came out with her cell phone, stood right at the fence, recording him the entire afternoon. And whenever his back went over the fence line while he's working on the siding, she would tell him, move back or I'm calling the police.
What?
Yes. And I had never experienced this kind of stuff. They would call me and tell me, and I just thought, there's a lot of misery out there, Chili.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There is.
So it's unfortunate. That's kind of how it was. All right, let's go on to story number 8. This is reported by ABC 13 Houston. So it seems like you are always trying new physical endeavors, it seems, as long as I've known you. I remember when Nigeria, they were in the World Cup, and you sent me a video. You're like dancing for the Nigerian national soccer team.
Yeah.
You told me that you recently discovered Muay Thai. You're doing Muay Thai classes now.
Yeah.
What about golf? Are you much of a golfer?
I just started learning. Yes.
It's like I knew, Well, this is going to be a story you'll find interesting then. There were some guys playing golf at the Cypress Lakes Golf Course in Cypress, Texas. And all of a sudden, their game got interrupted by a very unusual sight. Aanchal Vash, what happened?
I am so curious. What could have interrupted their golf?
There was suddenly a police chase across the green with a Range Rover being chased by a police cruiser. And we got the video from ABC 13. Joel, you got it? All right, there's the Range Rover. Look at that. This is across the green. And here it comes in just a minute. There goes the Range Rover right there. You can see it in the back. Yep, there it is. And then in a minute, the video cuts back, and then you will see the police cruiser. There he is.
What?
Tearing across the golf green, going after the guy in the
Oh
Range
my
Rover.
God.
Oh, look at the guys. They're like, he went that way. He went that way.
This is so entertaining, though.
That's what happened. The two people inside the Range Rover, they were later identified as 20-year-old Gray Martinez and 19-year-old Trevor Passmore. They kept driving when the deputy tried to pull them over for a traffic stop, and that was the end result. When they kept driving, he chased them through a golf course. Eventually, they crashed the car. They tried to take off on foot, and they were apprehended, and they now face charges including felony, evading in a motor vehicle, and harassment of a public servant. Aanchal Vash, have you ever witnessed a criminal act? Maybe it's a police chase, maybe it's a theft, maybe it's an assault, anything.
I actually have, yes. But this is a bit serious, I would say. So there was a time when I was living on Yonge and Dundas,
In Toronto?
in downtown Toronto, overseeing the Dundas Square. And around, I would say 11 p.m. in the night, I heard some gunshots. So I went, like, it's one of those places that's just complete, glass, floor to ceiling. And I could see the whole thing. I saw a young boy get shot, and I saw the police officers come in their car and how slow they were in attending to him, performing CPR. The young boy didn't end up making it, but I saw I think there were a bunch of, like, a gang of people, and I saw them run in different directions.
Wow.
Yeah,
So it was a gang-related shooting.
Yeah.
Wow. You know that I was once witness to a bank robbery. Did I ever tell you that?
No, were you there?
Yes. I was in line at a CIBC bank in Midtown Toronto, Canada, and the guy two ahead of me in line, I hadn't really paid attention to him, but he had a duffel bag and he kept on looking around. He ended up going to the teller and took out a note and said, "I have a gun, give me all the money." And I wasn't aware of this. They gave him one of those cash packs with the paint in it, and he took off by me, and it wasn't until he ran by me that, like, light bulb went off. And I realized what was happening. They shut the bank down. They called the police. I had to get interviewed by the police. And here's a lesson. I said to one of the police, I wish I had have known sooner, because I could have tackled the guy. He went right by me, and I could have tackled him. And the police said, "I'm glad you didn't. You don't know if he had a weapon on him."
Yeah, the best fight is no fight.
That's right. That's right. Wow. I'm learning some stuff about Aanchal Vash today. This is interesting.
This is great.
Let's go on to story number 7. This is reported by the Mirror. So back in 2017, a woman from Parker, Colorado named Lori Bricks, she was making hash browns, and she came across what she thought was a really interesting looking potato. Aanchal Vash, what did she do next?
She sliced it.
She kept it in the freezer for the next 5 years because she thought it was smiling and friendly looking. Joel, do we have a picture of the potato?
No.
There's the potato.
Oh my God, no.
Look at that.
I can totally see her do that.
She named it Pete the potato. She does photo shoots with Pete. She wants to keep him for another 5 years so that she can do another photo shoot to commemorate a decade together. So that's what she wants to do. You hear these stories sometimes, right? Like somebody makes a piece of toast and they think it looks like Jesus. You hear this stuff sometimes?
Yes.
Have you ever come across a food item that had an interesting look, or you thought it resembled something else?
No, but I do have a funny story. So when I was in university, I came here by myself with my twin brother. And when I lived on campus because I wanted to get to know more people. So I got involved in all of the school extracurriculars, and I'm like, I want to make a difference for all international students that come here. So I was a part of a club on campus, which was about helping people with their well-being, right? So what we ended up doing was a fundraiser where we picked up rocks on the street, and we gave them googly eyes, and we like painted them with a smiley face. And then eventually we like had a little note there to make people who would exchange it with like a little bit of donation for this club. So we called it Pet Rocks. It was a project so all these international students didn't feel alone. It may sound ridiculous, but it actually worked because those students had a bunch of pet rocks around them on their dresser. They look at them and they'd smile, pick it up, shake it around, and this googly eyes moved, and they never felt alone because that was the point of it.
You are an entrepreneurial person, and it will not surprise me if, say, 2 years down the road, I get a text message from you saying, hey, I have a new googly-eyed rock business. That will not surprise me whatsoever.
That is so funny.
Good for you. Good for you. All right, let's go on to story number 6. This is reported by Yorkshire Live. There's a park in the UK. It's called Beaumont Park. And they recently installed several art pieces to display as part of a nature story trail. One of the sculptures in particular has gotten a lot of attention. Aanchal Vash, any idea why the sculpture has gotten a lot of attention?
Was it blank?
Not exactly. It looked like a 20-foot tall wooden penis. Joel, do we got the picture? There it is.
Oh my God.
That was made by artist Heather Crompton out of an old cedar tree stump. It features images of woodland animals, but a lot of people, they're not appreciating the beauty of it. One disgruntled person told Yorkshire Live, is this where our council tax is spent on giant dicks? Now, I'm sure that it can be useful, though, because I thought about this, I gave this some thought. When you're meeting somebody somewhere, and obviously now cell phones have made it a little bit easier, but you're meeting someone somewhere, maybe it's a place you're not familiar with, and you're trying to figure out, where do I tell them to meet me? In that park, you can say, like, just meet me at the giant penis. Like, just do that.
You're really not a big fan of that.
I'm trying to find the positive in it. I'm trying to find the positive in it. And
it's an art piece.
It's an art piece. That's what it is.
Yes.
So let me ask you, have you ever come across any kind of a landmark or a monument or an everyday item, and you couldn't help but think to yourself, it looks like just a giant phallic symbol?
I'm pretty sure I have, to be very honest, James. I don't remember it because I think art these days is interpreted in so many different ways, So I just bless you, keep going, create something better. Good for you.
Well, just to let you know that these things are everything, and I did hardly any research at all on this. Back in October of 2021, there was a town in Cyprus. They put up a statue in honor of potatoes because I guess this town is known for growing vegetables in red soil. And so they wanted to commemorate that by putting up, an art sculpture of a potato. Joel, put up the statue that they put up. Yeah, that's what they put up.
No way.
Yeah. So there's basically penis statues worldwide. And they're just supposed to be something else. And the best part about this is people's intentions are innocent, right? They put all this time into this artwork. They're probably really excited when they're getting ready to debut them. So they're probably really excited, and I can't wait to get the feedback. And then they put it up, and then everybody's like, why the hell did you make a giant dick?
Oh my God, this just reminded me of something so funny. So how on the internet, you have all these like short videos like we were talking about earlier. So this one lady is like educating people about the importance of using a face massager. And this face massager really looked like a tiny little penis. And like, I don't think she looked at it that way, but everyone else, that video went viral because she couldn't understand what she's doing with it. She's putting it all over her face and, making these sounds like, oh, it feels so good.
Okay. Is she selling those massagers?
I would think so. I think she'd probably be an affiliate.
Do you think the whole thing was set up because she wanted to get that reaction because she wanted it to go viral?
It could be, but that doesn't really look very good, right? But
but if
it works, it works.
Yeah, like if it means that you got like 1 million views on it, like ka-ching,
Yeah, that's it. But who's buying that?
People, Chili. People. I think we need to just move on to story number 5.
Okay.
Reported by the Daily Mail. There was a guy in Manchester, England, and this guy really liked Nike trainers, shoes. But he was tired of having to spend money on a new pair whenever his old pair wore out. He supposedly came up with a solution. Do you know what his solution was?
exchange it.
He got a pair of his favorite Nike shoes tattooed onto his feet.
Oh, yes.
We have a video. Joel, put up that video.
Oh, no.
This is by tattoo artist Dean Gunther. He posts his creations on TikTok. It took him about 2 hours to draw and another 8 hours to tattoo that onto both feet. And that was the end result. Look at that right there. Now, you know, the funny thing to me, when I see that, he's got the toe sticking out. It looks like the Incredible Hulk, you know,
Yes.
like the Incredible Hulk's wearing shoes, or maybe Fred Flintstone. I know you might be too young to remember Fred Flintstone.
I do.
Okay. But that's what I think of when I see this guy. So he actually got Nike shoes tattooed permanently on both feet. Aanchal Vash, do you have any tattoos or do you have any plans to get one?
No tats for me.
No, any plans to get one?
Nope.
Interesting. Is there a reason? Like, are you just kind of anti-tattoo or it's just a personal choice?
I think when, initially people started getting tattoos, it was because it was a cool thing. Like it was something that a lot of people didn't have. It was uncommon. Now it's so common that I think people without tattoos are uncommon. You know what I mean?
It is so interesting that you just said that, because years ago I went to a UFC event, an MMA event, and I was on a train with my good buddy Luke, who you know.
Yeah.
And the MMA culture, a lot of the fighters and the trainers, they're covered in tattoos. So that's part of the culture. And we're on the train, and the guy sitting across from us was a fighter, and he was like covered in tattoos. And as the train ride went on, we just kind of got shooting the shit with him. And I commented on a couple of the tattoos on his arm, and I commented that they look cool. And just like you just said, he looked at me and said, "Do you have any tattoos?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Keep it that way, because that's becoming cool now, because everybody I know is getting tattoos." And so I also do not have any tattoos, Jilly.
No way. I did not know that.
Same exact reason, because it's becoming the unique thing now to not have.
I like that. Here's a fist bump. Boom. Good for you.
There you go.
Yeah. But
All
that
right.
leg right there, like I've seen that video before. I just didn't know the story behind it. All that I could think about was he's a brand evangelist. Like he has just helped the company feel so good about themselves.
You mean the Nike tattoo guy? The Nike
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah.
I mean that's permanent. Like, how much money could they give him for that? You know what I mean?
They could have, but he did it voluntarily. He's in love with the brand.
I think he belongs on this list for a reason.
Absolutely.
That's just my opinion. Let's go on to story number 4, reported by Lad Bible. So there's a volunteer working on the front lines of the Russia-Ukraine war, and they were looking for ways to raise money for the Ukrainian army. They came up with a pretty unique solution to raise money. Aanchal Vash, what did they come up with?
Social media.
You can buy a personalized message on an artillery shell that will be fired at Russian troops. Joel, do you have that ad? Okay, it's kind of hard to see. This was posted on Telegram. For $100, soldiers will write your message on the side of a 152 millimeter artillery shell that will then be fired at Russian troops. You can wish someone a happy birthday. You can wish someone a painful death. You can do a marriage proposal, whatever you want. The price originally was $40, but the demand was so great that they actually raised the price to $100. So many people wanted to personalize a shell and fire them at the Russians. So, Aanchal Vash, if you were going to personalize a weapon of war, what message would you put on it?
Love wins.
On an artillery shell. That's what you would put on an artillery shell.
First of all, I find this whole thing ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true. It's a true story.
But I can see why people would buy that. What is wrong with us?
That's why Know Your News was created, Chili. That's why. Because these stories are ridiculous, but they are 100% real. You know what people have said to me so many times when I do this? They say, "How do you find 10 stories every week? It must be really hard to find 10 stories." And my answer to them every week is,
no.
I have to pick from like 25.
No way.
And I gotta narrow the list down to 10.
So you're on top of your stuff. You know your news.
I know my news. That was good. That was good. Yeah. All right, let's go on to story number 3, reported by Oddity Central. Have you ever had an ex-boyfriend do something really dumb or really pathetic after you broke up?
Probably, yeah.
Can't think of any ideas, or you don't want to tell me?
I can't think of anything specifically.
Okay, well, hopefully they didn't do this. There's a man in Shanghai. He broke up with his girlfriend. Now, I'm going to go ahead and assume that she dumped him, but he broke up with his girlfriend. I don't think he was too happy about it, because what do you think happened next?
He probably went to her brother and asked for permission.
Permission for what?
I don't know. Could I marry your sister?
He sent her an itemized list of expenses for everything that he ever bought and paid for while they dated, and demanded that she pay him back. And we have a picture of some of that list. Put that up, Joel. Now, this is in Chinese because this is Shanghai. There were hundreds of line items on this list, complete with dates and times for things like bottles of water and for snacks and even funeral costs, because he paid for his ex-girlfriend's mother's funeral. So he put the costs on there. The total came out to just under $9,000. This is what he did. And here's my question for you. What kind of person keeps record of that stuff during the entire time that they dated?
Was he an accountant?
He must have been. I don't know.
Right?
Maybe a serial killer? Like, who keeps an itemized list of everything from the moment that you started dating? But that's what he did. Like, he must be cheap. Maybe he's cheap. I don't know.
He must be probably. Or maybe he didn't ever think it was really going to work out.
Do you think that's what it was? He thought, this girl's way too good for me.
Yeah,
she's way out of my league. And so, like, I got to be prepared because the day's going to come.
Probably. And the power of technology can track every expense.
Yes, you can. You're right. You're right. Are you a fan of Seinfeld? Do you ever watch Seinfeld?
A long time ago.
Okay, so the character George Costanza on Seinfeld, he was notorious for always keeping track of money owed, no matter how small it was. If somebody owed him $3 for a postage stamp, he would remind them that they owed him the money. Have you ever had a friend or a relative or a boyfriend, anybody that was like that? They were like so cheap that they would always make sure to remind you of money that they were owed.
Yes. Yeah. One of my exes, he would, like, even if it comes to buying me a coffee, be like, oh, I treated you yesterday. Okay.
Really?
I'll treat you today. It's ridiculous. And I find that over here, it happens a lot more.
In Canada.
It was like, in Canada versus Nigeria. In Nigeria, everyone wants to treat each other. You know, it's like, hey, I got the bill, right? Versus you want to split it.
Interesting.
And I find the culture here is so different. Everyone wants to split things. It's like, yo, I got it. I got this bill, you know, and hopefully if you want, if not, that's okay too. I just want to treat you.
That's fascinating. So the only thing that I have noticed ever since, because I've been fortunate in my life and I've made a few bucks. The one thing I've noticed is people will wait for me to pull out my wallet. I've noticed when the bill comes, I remember I had a couple of friends, and if they ever see this, you damn well know who you are. But I had a couple of friends, and sometimes I would think to myself, if I sit at this restaurant for 4.5 hours with this bill in front of me and don't pull out my wallet, are they going to sit here for 4.5 hours waiting for me to pull out my wallet? You know? So
they probably make excuses, like having small talk, chit chat.
We need more people that are cashiers sending marriage proposals to strangers. This is what we need, Chili. All right, let's go on to story number 2. Reported by the Smoking Gun. There's a 22-year-old man from Florida, because it seems like most shit happens in Florida and China and India, it seems. So this guy's from Florida. He's already served prison time for attempted murder and robbery at the age of 22. And he's back behind bars now on various felony charges, felony gun charges, drug charges. He was first arrested back in 2013 when he was only 13 years old for shooting a 15-year-old boy. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison at that time. So obviously his fate is kind of sealed, it seems, from a young age. You hear stories about this sometimes, but there's something unique about this particular guy. What do you think is unique about this particular human being?
So I'm going to assume that while he was in prison, he read a lot of motivational and self-help books, and he came out a new, rejuvenated person that wanted to make a difference in his community.
Your answer would be a lot better, but no, the real answer is this guy's name is Le Genius. Joel, do we have his mugshot? There he is there. So this guy's name is Legenius Williams.
Okay.
So it almost feels like his parents kind of sealed his fate, because like when you name the kid Legenius, it's going to go one of two ways. He's either going to be incredibly impressive, or he's going to think I can never live up to this shit, and he's going to go the other way. He might have gone the other way. I don't know. So 5 months after he was released, as you know, when he shot the kid as a 13-year-old, 5 months after that, he went back to prison for cocaine possession and for other charges. His fate is kind of sealed, I think, in terms of what's going to happen to this kid. Seems like he's a lifer. How do you live up to the name Legenius? Like, how does anybody live up to the name Legenius? What if you were Legenius Vash?
I think I just make better choices. And we don't know where he was raised and
No, of course not. No, I just think, it's interesting that his name is Legenius, and that's kind of those are the decisions that he made. So what about you? Like, your name is Aanchal. Is there a story behind that name? That's a unique name.
Thank you. Actually, my last name, Vash, the full name is Vashishta. It means God of knowledge.
Aha.
Yeah.
That tells me a lot about you. Interesting. Chili is a book writer. How many books you have out now?
I have 2 books out. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. There are 2 books out so far. And the 3rd book that's coming out is called Ongoing Success and Wellbeing. You are actually in this book. I've written an entire page about you under acknowledgement section of this book, because like, you're such an incredible person. Like, I want more people to know more about you.
I appreciate that. I'm going to take this clip, what you just said, and I'm going to send this on Twitter to Sean Rossat from Fightful.com. And I'm going to say to him, there you go. You need to just wake up every morning and just say thank you. That's what you need to do.
You're so funny. I'm sure he already knows that. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Sean. I think he's as well an incredible person.
Awesome. All right. Well, here we go. It's time for story number 1, the last story of the week. And another good one, because, this is what I have to find every week, Chili, and I try to find good ones for you. So there's a man on Reddit, goes by the name UND Student, and he was tired of listening to his neighbor's dog barking for hours on end, and it seemed like the owner didn't want to do anything to stop it. So Mr. UND Student, he got creative in order to send the message across. He wanted to find a way to send a message across to his neighbor to, chill with the dog. What did he do, Aanchal Vash?
He wrote a hate note and left it outside the door.
That's a good guess. He changed his Wi-Fi name to Shut Your Fucking Dog Up. Joel, do we have a screenshot? You can see it there. And then he had a secondary Wi-Fi network, and he called the secondary Wi-Fi network, or I will call the cops.
That is so not subtle.
Yes. So he knew, because you know how you can see your neighbor's Wi-Fi when you pull up Wi-Fi networks, you can see your neighbor's Wi-Fi network. And he knew this guy's going to see Shut Your Fucking Dog Up, or I will call the cops. And that's what he did. I thought it was brilliant, Chili. Didn't you think?
That is way better than someone leaving a hate note outside your door or calling animal control.
I thought so too. So have you ever had to deal with an annoying roommate or an annoying neighbor on an ongoing basis? Maybe they were playing loud music at night or doing something else irritating. Have you ever had to deal with that?
I think it's gone both ways. So I actually have a puppy myself here.
You do?
And, yeah, when he was very little, it was during the pandemic when I got him. My neighbors couldn't stand him because he's like an American Eskimo Japanese Spitz mix. He's a guard dog, So anytime there's anyone outside, he would bark away, right? So I got a bunch of hate notes at my door.
You did?
Hate notes, like to a point where my friends would just take it if they're coming inside my apartment. They would just take it and not even show it to me, not tell me about it until months later.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Chili, keep an eye out on the Wi-Fi networks.
I prefer that. I think that's way more subtle than that act.
Well, until they say they're going to call the cops, but fascinating. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Aanchal Vash, tell everybody, what are you doing and where can they find you?
Okay. Well, I'm right now working on publishing this book. ongoing success and well-being. And I'm aiming for #1 bestseller on Amazon. So if you watch this, I'd really appreciate your help and support. James is actually in this book as well, so you can read up a bit.
Buy it for me.
Yes, exactly. And you can find me on social media, anywhere, any platform, at Aanchal Vash.
All right. Well, I want to thank Aanchal Vash for joining us. That's it for KYN tonight. Chili, always awesome to talk to you. This was a lot of fun.
Likewise. Thank you. This was great. Thanks for having me.